One of the most common questions that I get asked is, how do you travel abroad and teach online? The two seem impossible, but let me tell you, it's definitely possible and you can do it. Hey everyone, I'm Brittany. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Before we get started, I have to backtrack a bit before I can tell you where I am currently teaching online. Before I started teaching online, I was a brick and mortar teacher at an international bilingual school in Copan, Honduras. During my time teaching at the International Bilingual School, the news headlines were trickling in about COVID. So this was in the very beginning of the pandemic. I also knew that I wanted to continue to travel abroad, but while you're teaching in a brick and mortar school, it's a little bit difficult because you do have to teach 5 days a week in the classroom. Teaching online was something that I knew that would be the next step. COVID hits, the country starts shutting down in Central America. And so I decided to transition back to Guatemala. I was in Guatemala previously before Honduras and stay there, see what was happening before I decided to make any moves. While I was there, I decided to teach online. So I took a 120-hour TEFL course and got my certificate for 120 hours with TEFL. Now, if you're interested in that, I linked the class that I took in the description below, and it's only $19. I cannot recommend this enough. So back in Guatemala, I took the 120-hour TEFL course, and I decided to apply for teaching jobs online. Now, I did a lot of research because the Virgo in me. I decided the best platform for me to teach was on Outschool, and I applied to teach on Outschool. It's been the best decision that I've made so far. If you're interested in applying on Outschool, I have my referral link in the description below, as well as my 5-step guide to getting hired on Outschool. And also you can check out the YouTube video that I have before, which details what is Outschool, what can I teach on Outschool. It gives you a lot of information, so I would check that out next. My advice for you if you're interested in teaching online is to start as soon as possible. It doesn't matter where you are in the world, you need to start, you need to apply, and that allows you to get your foot in the door. And so once you apply and you get accepted, I would tell you to just get used to the platform, get used to the students, and just get used to a schedule that you have set, because that will just help make that transition when you're traveling a little bit easier. Because even though you're traveling in different time zones, maybe you are teaching in different places, if you have a set schedule for the times that you teach with your classes, it will help you and your students tremendously. After you find a platform that you like for online teaching, I would highly recommend applying to a second platform or having a second source of income, because you never know what happens, whether you're traveling abroad or you're at home. In case something happens with one platform, you can go and transition to another, vice versa. So that is another tip that I highly recommend for traveling abroad or staying at home when you're teaching online. Have more than one platform that you teach on. Another question that I get asked is, what do you need when you're traveling abroad and teaching online? What things do you use the most? Honestly, I use a VPN. It's a game changer. A VPN is a virtual private network. And basically what that is, it sets your internet to any location in the world. And if you are in the United States, you don't need it because you're in the US, and major online teaching platforms highly encourage applicants from the United States, Canada, and other countries in Europe to apply. But in certain countries, you will not have access to certain networks. And I know that I just said it and it sounds complicated, but stay with me. So living in Honduras, certain parts of Mexico, Belize, and Guatemala, you will not have access to certain platforms or teaching platforms. They want that US VPN, they want that US internet. So when you get the VPN, you can set it to anywhere in the United States. Before I moved as traveling abroad as a digital nomad, I lived in Washington, D.C. So I set my VPN to Washington, D.C. And it really is very beneficial to me because you get locked out, if that makes sense. Now, if you have American bank accounts, sometimes you will not be able to access them if you're in a different country just because of privacy laws. And banks are, well, American banks, I think banks in general are very on top of making sure that there's no security breaches. So a VPN is excellent for that. And if you want to watch Netflix, Showtime, HBO, you need a VPN for that. And I feel like as a digital nomad, sometimes you do get homesick, and it's nice to watch TV shows that you're used to watching in the States to sort of chip away at that homesickness if that happens to you. So that's another reason to have a VPN. I use ExpressVPN, and I've used them for over a year now, and I have the link in the description below if you want to try it for 30 days free. I also use Canva Pro. Now, I have a YouTube video where I talk about what I use Canva Pro for when I'm teaching online, which I can't recommend Canva Pro enough. Another resource that I use when I'm teaching online and traveling abroad is PowerPoint. So one of my major classes, I do have a PowerPoint that I use to teach, and it's worked for me, and it's on my laptop. So there is no printing out or having to go to a print center to print anything. Which is really great, is a whiteboard, just a plain whiteboard and markers. You can use that when you're beginning to teach. You can get that for like $1 or $2 anywhere. Actually, if you're in the US, you can go to Target, the dollar store, Dollar Tree, Walmart, whatever store you have. And in traveling abroad, they have so many street vendors that actually have that, so it's really accessible to use. And I forgot to note that you can actually have your VPN on your cellular phone. So I have mine on my phone in case I need to access something, and I need that United States of America VPN. And I apologize if I said US, because there is also United States of Mexico and United States of America. I don't think a lot of people in America know that, but America, we're not the only United States. And if you would like, I can go into detail about this later on in another video, but I'll just quickly, briefly mention this. One thing that you'll need as a online teacher that's traveling abroad, or if you're living abroad in general, other than the VPN, I cannot tell you enough about this VPN, and I'm going to stop talking about it, but you're going to need it, is your bank accounts. So what I have is I have a PayPal account. If you teach on Outschool, you will get paid by PayPal, so it is definitely a must. I also have 2 US bank accounts that I use, and I also have a money saving app that I use called Capital. I've used this now for 4 to 5 years. When it was brand spanking new, I jumped on it. Yeah, I think about 4 or 5 years now. And basically what Capital is whenever you use a purchase, it rounds up to whatever dollar amount, the next dollar amount that you want. So whether it's to the next $1, $2, $3 for your purchase. So for example, say that you go into Target. I keep mentioning Target a lot, but it is what it is. If you go into Target and your bill is $10.50, what Capital will do is round up to, if you have it to your settings, 50 cents, it will round up 50 cents to the next dollar, and it'll make it $11 that purchase, but it will take 50 cents and put it into another account, and that basically is your savings, and it is key for a rainy day. And I have used it whenever I may be low on funds, or I don't have one of my bank account cards, and I'm like, oh, I have extra money, or if you want to take a trip, that is what it's used for. And you definitely tend to forget about it because it takes just coins or pennies on each purchase, but it adds up, and it's so lovely for a rainy day when you have it and you're like, oh, I have this money saved. And I use Capital, and I've used it for a very long time. Oh, and Capital does have a 30-day free plan, and they have monthly fees for certain tiers that you use, but it's up to you. You don't have to use it, but I've used it, and I can't recommend it enough. Now, when you're traveling abroad and when you're teaching online, you do need to put some money away, because again, you never know what happens. I definitely have learned that throughout my life, but especially with COVID, that helped me a lot by having something saved away and also having multiple accounts to put my money in. And again, like I said previously, you will need a US VPN if you're accessing certain bank accounts in the US. So the VPN comes in handy. When teaching abroad, you will also need a laptop. So I have a MacBook. Obviously, this is what I am using for the video, what I use to teach, and pretty much my life is on my MacBook Pro. I also have a Yeti. I have 2 podcasts that I record on my Yeti, and I love it. It's amazing. So I have that I use and I carry with me when I travel abroad. And of course, my iPhone. I have an iPhone, but I do have little knickknacks that I use to carry, but I don't carry too much because I am a digital nomad. I do travel, and I want to travel light because you do pick up stuff along the way. I have a tripod where it holds my iPhone. I am a certified yoga teacher, and I do teach yoga weekly online, and I use my laptop. But there have been times where I've used my iPhone and a tripod to teach. Those are must-have items for me. Okay, well, this is it for me. I would want to keep going, but the helicopter is around and around and around, and it's too much distraction. If you have any questions on teaching on Outschool or any link to free resources, you can look in the description below. You can check out the previous videos that I have available. If you have any more questions about Outschool, what I use when I'm teaching online with Canva Pro, how I incorporate that in my classrooms, and look forward to next week's video. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.